Lyle, it's time for question of the day.
Bring it on.
Okay, this is a really good question. You actually mentioned this in passing yesterday.
Yes.
And you kind of just referenced it as if everyone would know what it was. But
yes.
Turns out we don't.
Oh.
Question is, and this refers to Mark chapter 13 verse 10, or is it 10 verse 13? I can't remember. Why did Jesus say that we should pray that our flight not be in the winter?
Okay, so I'm going to read this one from Matthew chapter 24.
Okay, go on, yeah.
In verse 20 it says, "But pray that your flight is not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is not talking about flying to Germany, Mon.
Okay.
This is a different kind of flight.
Because I am taking a winter flight.
You are
next
indeed.
Week.
Okay.
Well, actually a spring flight, my bad.
Spring flight.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with flying in winter. Mm-hmm. In fact, it's better to fly in winter because the air makes it more efficient.
Thanks, science.
Yeah, there you go. The Bible here is talking about fleeing, which is a kind of an old English way of describing running for your life. So pray that you don't have to run for your life in the winter or on the Sabbath day, which kind of makes sense. You know, who wants to run for their life in the winter?
Oh,
it's cold.
I don't know, but running for your life in the summer, I feel like there's gonna be just as much complications, like, you know, hydration, sunburn. Like, I feel like there's gonna be just as much peril on both sides of that.
In this country, yeah, you might have a point there in relationship to hydration. However, here's the key thing.
Mm-hmm.
So long as you can get enough hydration, you're going to be fine as far as, you know, the heat goes. Mm-hmm. But in winter, you can have as much hydration as you want. If it gets too cold, you're simply going to freeze to death.
Okay.
So there are pros and cons to this whole equation. But Jesus says, pray that your flight is not in the winter or on the Sabbath day. The key to understanding this passage is that this is where the Bible is speaking about the great time of trouble at the very end of time.
Mm-hmm.
He is giving signs of his coming, and he says, okay, there's going to be time of trouble, and when you see certain events happen, the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, etc., stand in the holy place. We could talk about that, maybe another question time. Mm-hmm. Then run for your lives. Don't even stop to go back into your house. Just leave. Just drop everything and go.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of Christians today who would say that, well, you know, obviously God is a God of love, and so he would never allow Christians to be persecuted.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, okay, do you know nothing about Christian history? You know, during the Dark Ages, 150 million Christians lost their lives because of their faith.
Yeah.
Christians have been fleeing for their lives the entire history of Christianity. Persecution beyond what you can even begin to imagine in its horror has been taking place on Christians. And so why should God single out at the last generation at the very end of times? Like, okay, every other generation can face persecution, and if you're wondering about that, just contact Voice of the Martyrs. You know, every other generation can face persecution, but this last generation, I'm too loving to allow them to face persecution. Huh? How does that even work?
Persecution started with Cain and Abel.
Absolutely. So we need to look at a couple of things very quickly. First of all, the Bible says, and the Bible tells you where you can hide at the end of time. Psalms 91 is all about the time of trouble at the very end of time. And the Bible says that we can hide under the shadow of the Almighty. That's the only place that you can hide. In other words, be fully surrendered to Jesus Christ and he will find a hiding place for you. The Bible says, 1,000 shall fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but no plague is coming anywhere near where you live. That psalm is for the end of time. It's also significant that when you look at the 7 churches, which are symbolic in Revelation of 7 different time periods of God's church down through history, that when you come to the second last church, not the last one, but the second last church, it is the church in Philadelphia. And a very special promise is made to this church. It's promised that I will keep you from the hour of tribulation that is coming on the earth. And then you go to the last church. Okay, so if the second last church is like, yeah, I'm going to keep you from the hour of tribulation that is coming, the implication very, very clearly is, okay, the last church, they're not going to be kept from that implication. There are hard things facing us in the future. Hard things have faced Christians before. God has got them through, and God will get us through as well.
Thank you so much for answering that, Lyle. If you have a question, contact us here at Faith FM. The number is 1-800-324-843. Ask us any question about the Bible. We'll answer it live on air.